start our current affairs daily. So let us see the wonderful thing about IPCC report that is forecasting about the future of severe weather, and also we'll see about the code red, which is IPCC's warning on how climate is going to be changing, and what is this IPCC that's been doing with the glaciers. First thing we're going to see about the background, the highlights, the basics, reasons, impact, and risk factor, and what are the efforts of India. Whenever you write some sort of exam, if it's written, even it's a civils examination, anything, the answer should contain all these factors. First will be the background, highlights, basics. We call it as BHP, and then we will start with reasons, impacts, which is two comes in one thing, and also a risk, reasons, impact, and risk, and finally what is our solution or else efforts. Okay, so this is the pattern we should follow. Let us go to the next. So these are the few things in UPSC. They're asking about few questions about how this climate has been evolving, and first thing is about climate change, and in 2010 and 2017 is also about a climate change alliance, how it's working on, and also in 2018 they had asked about the initiative. We will see all this one by one. So the mains also covered few of these relevant topics. Maybe they could ask also now. Even you can see the size of technology, achievements, and awareness. So this is the syllabus. So because they had been given this sixth report of IPCC, they could ask, they definitely ask this time, so get ready. So and now the first thing that I told you is the background. We had just seen the background. Let's come to the highlights. So the highlights about this IPCC. Before going any further, let us see what is meant by IPCC. IPCC is Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. So the sixth report, Climate Change of 2021, the physical science basics. So the first thing happened here is there is some sort of local or global changes with as Indian Ocean increases its heat rate of warming, there are heat waves and floods. They are frequently occurring. And also secondly, firstly about the warming, higher warming. Secondly about irreversible climate change. That means there is increase in annual mean precipitation and also increasing in monsoons. That means the north and south, there is some sort of fluctuations that have been happening over here. And thirdly, there is also rising of sea levels. So the sea levels are rising. It is because of the melting of glaciers, and also it could be global heat, and the coastals are flooding. So you can see recently in Mumbai, Chennai, and also Hyderabad, there is flooding. This is called urban flooding. And finally, we can see that there is melting of glaciers that we covered here in rising of sea levels. But here there will be flooding in the plains and continuous shifting of river channels. So this is of western of Himalayas, so we need to take care of this. So these are some of the highlights. Let us see what are the climate changes that have been happening around now. But what is meant by climate change? A climate change is the modification of India's brought due to the change in atmosphere, as well as interaction between the atmosphere and various other geological, chemical, biological, and geographical. So try to understand this one: geological, chemical, biological, and geographical factors. We'll see this in consideration. So the main things that the two things that affect climate change, one is about the natural factors, the second thing is about the anthropogenic factors. Natural factors is something which is natural, anthropogenic is something which is man-made disasters. Okay, it is because of man. So natural factors is something like changing in physiology of earth. You can see that India should not be over there, but because of India just merging with the Asia, we got this called mountains, Himalayas. So there is climatic changes, there are also oceanic currents, fluctuations, and volcanism, and there are also volcanoes, eruptions. Okay, so and also singing, changing carbon sink. So this also deal with trees and all stuff, right? So here comes the main important thing, that is anthropogenic factors. Anthropogenic factors is something called as greenhouse gases. See, we need greenhouse gases to put us warm, right? But but here, see, the anthropogenic could have very of CO2 and methane. The problem here is the world already got his own heat. So if it could not be there, it could be somewhat like 19 degrees centigrade. But right now it exceeded that, so we couldn't abstain or retain heat. So we should control these greenhouse gases. So, and also atmospheric aerosols. See, atmospheric aerosols is something of two types. One is natural and one is anthropogenic. Okay, so human made or anthropogenic. So if you take human made, it is ammonia. See, burning of plants, changing of structures of this. Okay, and finally changing land use pattern. So there will be, while changing this land use pattern, we will be changing the carbon sink. Okay, we need to take consideration of this climate change. And coming to this, what, why is climate change becoming a more severe issue than current pandemic? So why? See, first thing is global leaders are only talking, but they are not working on the mitigation and adaptation efforts. So second thing is about Paris climate deal. It's only on paper. Okay, we call it as PCD, Paris climate deal. And third thing, TOT, transfer technology, couldn't be going to the low developing countries, and it is subjected to and limited. And also there is trust deficient among existing industrialization countries and emerging countries. So the funding is also not been much here, and also research R&D is also based, and also the conflicts of economic development and climate change is also more. And also there is also islands of Pacific Oceans have least dealings with this, and the polluter principle, poor follow-up of polluter principle, and finally the green technology is very expensive. So these are the few factors that why there is current pandemic issue of this climate change. So the major impact of climate change is upon four things. The first thing about the climate change is higher temperature. There will be glacier retreat and also changing in landscape. Okay, so the first thing that you need to remember is higher temperature. We can see in 1997 and 1990, these are the 10 hottest years. They're almost two. See, glacier retreats also changing, and there was polar and is up the mountains. There's so much of changing of this thing. And second thing is about ecosystem at risk. Okay, there's also ocean acidification, that is pH value is decreasing, is below 7. So that means there is so much of acidity. Almost by 2050, 1/4 of the ecosystem will be acidic. And also plants and are being submerged because of this acidic nature, and also rising in sea levels. And thirdly, there are droughts, fire, floods, threat of diseases, and we call it as DFF, which means drought, fire, floods. And these are because of heat. Diseases also could be because of heat illness, like heat strokes, and also heat illness. Okay, so finally, economical losses. So what do you think? If there is a drought, there will be definitely the rise in prices. If there is fire and floods, the transportation is stuck and the food will be limited, and there will be definitely rise in prices. Even there will be if the petrol rate increases, there is economical losses, and because of this economic losses, we will have increase in the price rates, and it definitely leads to the food insecurity. Okay, so because of change in production. So let us go to the new climate of for peace. Okay, frugality. Okay, climate regulatory risk in India. So as we seen before, we had seen about what is the impact. Now let us go to the climate regulatory. So the first thing that you need to remember here is local resource competition. So the local resource competition, if you take for example Gujarat and Maharashtra, the river water disputes, you can see it, right? So coming to the livelihood insecurity and migration, extreme weather events and disasters, there is so much of vulnerability and also grievance. And also transboundary water management around Indus, you had seen the transboundary and Brahmaputra. All right, so also the sea level rise and coastal degradation. We could see that the regulation, we call it also as CRG, course regulation zone. Okay, so and also violate volatile food prices and provision. So this is something which is related to flooding and all this volatile thing of damaged food insecurity. And finally, unintended effect of climate policies. So because of this, Indian carbon dioxide decreases, and climate policy is something which is Paris climate deal, which says to reduce the carbon dioxide. But if we reduce the carbon dioxide, the energy supply will be reduced. The only thing for the solution is there should be increase in investment increase in green energy. So only this is a solution. But if they keep on doing something like this, it could be problematic. And what is the Indian's response? So India's response to the climate change, these are the few factors that's India's response. So if you take UP, it got afforestation. Let me write it down here. If you take UP, they had did some sort of afforestation. Okay, if we take Rajasthan, they put down this green belt. And then Delhi, they got hydrogen and CNC transport. See, these are the few initiatives that Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, and Delhi government, and many other states also took. No need to worry about that. But let us write something like this. And India's response to climate change is all about national action plan and climate change and a PCC. You can just put it in your essay answer, and a PCC, and also National Clean Energy Fund, NCEF, NCEF. Okay, and also Paris Agreement. It's a very important Paris Agreement deal. Also, you need to remember that. And Paris Agreement deal, it's about 30 to 35%, which we got almost 40%. And ISA, International Solar Alliance, and Bharat stage emission norms. And India had successfully got BS6 engines. That means the sulfur content will be decreased. And also CES, clean energy sets. Okay, so there will be additional taxes on coal. So the cess on coal will be increased. And also national afforestation program, which is SNAP. And coming to the national adaptation fund for climate change and smart cities. And also there are so many smart cities we're going to change, looking into that. And national mission for clean Ganga, and national air quality scheme, we call it as AQ. And finally fame is something called as national electrical mobility plan and program. Okay, so these are the few initiatives that Indian government had taken. So the first thing that you need to remember is NAPS. Okay, NAP, so action plan, clean energy fund, and all this Paris agreement, all this stuff. Okay, let's go to this final thing. Okay, so there are also few articles that we could see in the paper about TSA, about how first concern about tribal outfits have been going on. So tribal subplan, it is started in 1972. by the fifth year plan, and the chairman is SC Dubey. TS is also called TCP is also called a tribal sub plan, and you can just see it out and benefits of TSP tribal sub plan. There will be so much of changing in the outrageous things that will be changing and mobilizing, and everything will be good. Okay, so this is suggestions made by them, and this is the something circular account for plastic. Okay, guys, we meet in the next class, and then do have fun and have fun. Bye.